And welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm your host, Lori La Bey, and I'm so excited that you're joining us today. We are going to have a fascinating conversation as usual as we learn from people all around the world at all ages and stages of life. Stay tuned as we shift our dementia care from crisis to comfort.
All right, here we go. What you think about, you will bring about.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but September is World Alzheimer's Month, and on the 21st, they will be releasing their World Alzheimer's Report, which is always really exciting. And you can go to ADI.org to find out more information on that. If you enjoyed our opening music, I always get people commenting on that. It's called Clarion Call by the Mark Arneson Band, and you can download that on any of your favorite platforms. And the featured singer there is Maya Dore. For those of you that are new to our show, well, first of all, welcome. Our goal is to give sound information, not just sound bites. So we go for about an hour, and our goal here is to raise all voices, big and small, from people diagnosed to families and professionals that serve them and care for them, to advocates and researchers and more. Our show is live today, so if you would like to call in and ask a question to our guest, that number is 323-870-4602. That's 323-870-4602. Now, before I introduce our guest today, who happens to be an author and a daughter whose mother had Alzheimer's disease, I want to give some shout-outs. Dementia Action Alliance, that's DAI.org, is going to be doing a great webinar for their Meetings of the Minds, and it's entitled Human Rights as a Practice Model in Residential Aged Care. And that's what they call it over in Europe. We call it senior living or nursing homes or memory care, but they call it aged care. And that's going to be September 23rd and 24th. And you can find more information on that, again, by going to DAI.org. I also want to give a couple of shout-outs to some upcoming shows that I'd love you to participate in. This Thursday, September 10th, we are going to be having an open mic where families can talk about the impact COVID has had on them. So if you are at home and caring for somebody, or if you have somebody in a community, or if they had to go to the doctor, whatever has transpired, we'd love to hear from that. We want to hear the good, the bad, the ugly, and your thoughts on how we can improve that. On the 19th, we're going to do something really different on Alzheimer Speaks Radio. We're going to do an audio play called The Forgiving and the Forgetting and the Forgiving. And we're going to listen to that. It's 90 minutes, so it'll be like sitting around listening to the radio. And then on the 17th, we're going to do a talk back on that. And we're also going to meet the cast. So we would love for you to join us on that. Again, that's the 15th and the 17th of September. And then Artist Way Memory Cafe is going to start on September 16th. That's the third Wednesday of the month, and it'll be from 1 to 2, and that is a virtual memory cafe. They're located in Woodbury. Artist Senior Living is very well known out in the East Coast. This is their first one here in Minnesota, and I'm glad to help them get that up and running. If you'd like more information, you can go to Artist Senior Living of Woodbury, or just reach out to me as well. I'd love to give you information on that. What else do I have here? I want to, of course, give a shout out to the Memory Cafe directory. There are over 40 cafes now that are going virtual. We'd love to see more of those because it is so critical for people with dementia and their care partners to still be able to gather. You can also find information on dementia chats, which are videos that I facilitate of panels of people living with dementia. They give us great insights on Alzheimer's Speaks YouTube, along with some dementia quick tips, which are things I wish people would have explained to me when my personal family jumped into the ring of dementia over 36 years ago. Mom's been gone about 6 now. And then this is a great service that is offering free download apps. It's called Coro Health, Coro Health. And they are offering Music First and Choral Faith free. Again, it's an app you can download. Just go to their site, corohealth.com. And again, I would like to just remind people with World Alzheimer's Month, that report is going to be ready on September 21st. And it's always extremely interesting, very informative. And this year, I think their tagline is "Let's Talk Dementia." And last, I just want to thank all of our listeners. Your loyalty, your likes, your clicks, and shares have really helped build a sense of community, collaboration, and comfort, which I believe is the only way we're going to win this battle. So again, if you got a pen or pencil, I'm going to have you jot down this number, 323-870-4602. That's the number you can call into if you'd like to ask any questions. Now, today we are going to be talking with Brianne Grebil, and she is an author, a coach, and a teacher, and she loves exploring the powerful beauty of the simple truths of life, which I totally agree with her on that. She has written a book called Love Doesn't Care If You Forget, and she has found, how to show and find kind of that deep love and profound peace through her journey and life lessons that she learned with her mom, who was living with Alzheimer's. So welcome, Brianne. How are you doing today?
Oh, thank you, Lori, so much. I'm doing really well. Very happy to be here and speaking with you today.
Well, good. As I mentioned in your intro, your mom had Alzheimer's disease. I'd like to ask you if you can tell us what it was like for you as a daughter and your family after that diagnosis was received. How did your mom and the whole family deal with that?
Yeah, that was tough, because for a little while prior, I was living in Los Angeles, and my mom and dad were living in northern Idaho, and family and friends had been mentioning, something seems a little off with your mom. So I actually temporarily moved back up into my parents' home at the age of 35. And I thought, well, she's just not taking care of herself. I was fresh off a nutrition background, and I was a personal trainer. And I was like, well, she's just not taking care of herself. So we're switch her diet and, get her active again, and everything will be okay. And I quickly learned when I came up here, I really got to see the extent of where she was. And I kind of had that dreaded feeling in the pit of my stomach, because Alzheimer's does run in my mom's side of the family, so I was familiar with some signs. But we went through a whole bunch of extensive doctor's appointments and various different kinds of doctors, hoping it was something else that, had you could take some vitamins or a few treatments, or but of course that didn't happen. And we were given the Alzheimer's diagnosis in October 2015, and it was a big shock, and yet, it was interesting. It's like we saw it coming, but you still don't want it. If people listening to this show will know, it's a horrible diagnosis, because there's really ultimately nothing that can be done. The medical community doesn't have anything to offer you other than, we're sorry, it's downhill from here. Get your affairs in order, and maybe we can possibly slow it down or ease some of the symptoms. But I feel like we were in a strange sort of denial for a while. Not fully. It's like we knew it was happening because nobody talked about it. I actually went back to Los Angeles and was living with my then boyfriend, now husband, and I would make more and more frequent trips up to see her, and every time I would see it progressing. And then at some point there was just the acceptance of, okay, this is where we are, and we need to prepare for even more of what's to come. So it was certainly difficult. Yeah.
Okay. Well, and that's understandable. I think everybody kind of goes into that denial stage and that hope stage.
Yeah.
Of, oh, maybe she's just dehydrated, or maybe it's, adverse reactions from medications, or someone told me, if they get this, it'll help, this vitamin or this. Whatever.
Yeah, vitamin B deficiency, or not enough iodine, or I went through the amount of research I did trying to explain her actions and her behaviors and her memory, and oh man, I became like, I think most people who are trying to wrap their minds around it and trying to do something about it become little mini doctors of a sort. Especially now that there's so much accessible, almost too much accessible on the internet.
Yes. I totally am. That Dr. Google doesn't always help us. Sometimes it confuses us, and I know it really frustrates the real doctors many times. Can you tell us how your relationship with your mom changed, from before she had the diagnosis to once she was diagnosed, and kind of through that whole experience, because there's a progression typically as the disease moves right along the brain.
Yeah. Well, what was really interesting to me, and this I didn't expect. Like, my mother and I always had a great relationship. I love my mom. She was one of my best friends, and what I didn't expect is to become so much closer to her through the experience. Like, our relationship profoundly deepened, and it would already felt pretty solid. It got deeper and deeper and deeper, and it got to a point, particularly in the last year, I changed my life again. My husband and I actually put our life in Los Angeles in storage about 1.5 years ago, and moved up to permanently be up here for her and help with her care. And my father was her full-time caregiver for about 2 years, and I just saw that it was just way too much for him. I was afraid we were going to lose him before we lost her. Mm-hmm. So I came up to kind of take a share of that over, and I became just drawn to being in my mother's presence, and I couldn't quite articulate it at first. Like, at first I thought, well, of course, I'm aware maybe I'm going to be losing her soon, so I want to, get in as much time as I can, but it didn't feel quite like that. And then, of course, eventually what I wrote my book about was I was beginning to see, when I'm with her, she is taking me to a deeper place, like a deeper love, a deeper awareness of being alive, really. Mm-hmm. And it was just, not to say there were so many moments that were so hard. My mom changed completely. She turned into a very different person. She didn't know me for about the last 2 years. She just recently passed away. For the last 2 years of her life, she didn't know my name. She didn't know I was her daughter. She became really cruel, which was so foreign to me. Like, my mom was just the sweetest, shy, non-confrontational, and she became cruel. She became mean. She became very aggressive. So there was a lot of difficult times of me adjusting to this new version of her. But still, through that, I could see so much about what was possible inside of a space of love. Like, she was showing me, like, this, I guess you could say, a wider and wider version, or deeper and deeper version of love that could contain the difficulties. Not that there weren't difficulties, but so our relationship became very, I would almost say, spiritual, for lack mm-hmm. of a better way to explain it. I just became so enamored with her and in awe of what of course, she wasn't deliberately teaching me, but she was giving me access to. It was very humbling and beautiful and difficult and ugly and all of those things wrapped into one package. That was certainly at the beginning when we were given the diagnosis. I wouldn't have in my wildest dreams. One, I wouldn't have ever been able to predict the bad stuff that had happened, but I also wouldn't have been able to guess that the good things that came of it as well.
Yeah,
quite the journey she took me on.
Yeah, when you were talking about deeper love and the spiritual experience, I'm right there with you. My mom had dementia for 30 years. And I talk about it in terms of different levels of unconditional love I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
It just deepened everything. And I'm like you. When people ask me, I'm like, it was spiritual. It's like you can't put it even into words, really, because it's just so deep and so centering and so peaceful. Anyways, it was for me that I didn't know that existed, especially when you're in the midst of what everyone else is looking at as this horrific, horrible thing you're dealing with, and it's like, no, I'm really peaceful. I'm really comfortable. In fact, she's probably the safest place in the world for me to go visit and go be with, because there was no, towards the end, then there's no ego, so there's no judgment.
Exactly.
And it was like, wow, is that a cool place to live?
Yeah.
I mean,
one of the chapters of my book, Love Doesn't Care If You Understand, is one of the chapters in the book, and it talks about how my mom's language, she was started to lose language, and she would still talk, but it was kind of gibberish, and but we still had the most extraordinary conversations, even though they were nonsense. And I began to see, it's like, oh, we're not trying to understand each other. Like, at least I'm not. Like, but it doesn't seem to be a problem. Like, we don't have to worry about, saying the right words or being awkward or, how's the other person going to take this? Or, like, all of that went out the window, and you begin to realize just how often that's how we have interactions with people. So we just kind of have this filter up with a little, a bit of protection for ourselves and, being, gracious and polite or whatever it is that we do. And when that's gone, it is extremely freeing. Like, you're just present with a person. You're just really in a different kind of space than you are. And you don't realize how rarely we get that opportunity, how rarely we give that to ourselves or allow that to happen.
Exactly.
It very much is beyond the ego. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very interesting. We're going to just take a break here for a quick second and hear from the Footbar Walker. Sure we are.
Introducing the life-changing Footbar Walker.
I'm Peggy from Danville, Kentucky, and I'm 91 years old. The Footbar Walker revolutionized my care of George. The saving that I made from having to put him in a nursing home came to about $192,000. The Footbar Walker opens and closes just like a standard walker. The only thing that is different is the top bar and the foot bar. Does that ever make a difference?
Does someone you love use a walker? Do they struggle to get up from a seated position? Are you a caregiver dealing with physical pain and stress as you help your patient? The Footbar Walker was designed to assist not only the patient, but also the caregiver. Patients have more control standing up, and no lifting from the caregiver is required. See how it works at thefootbarwalker.com. That's thefootbarwalker.com. Peggy, would you recommend the Footbar Walker?
Do I ever? I would not be in the health that I'm in today at this age had it not been for the Footbar Walker.
One of the things that I really enjoyed about your book, Brianne, was that it's short, and, you had mentioned one of the chapters was Love Doesn't Care If You Understand, but you also have a chapter on Love Doesn't Care If You Forget, How You Feel, Love is impersonal, love doesn't care what you want to know. And I found those all very, very fascinating. I wanted to talk to you about the title of the book itself and where that came from, and maybe what was one of your biggest lessons from the book, or from your experience, I should say.
Yeah, I finished writing that book in October of last year, and my mom just passed away in July, and I feel like I could probably write a series of all of the things that she taught me, and every time I reflect back on our time, I feel like I see something more or something deeper or something else. But the title of the book, Love Doesn't Care If You Forget, as I was trying personally to make sense of, I knew I was seeing something really beautiful and really profound and really deep and really beautiful and really soothing. And I was sharing kind of what I was seeing just personally on my personal Facebook page, just as personal posts, and people were really getting something out of them. They were like, this is a perspective I haven't heard. And so I thought, well, maybe let me try writing something like, more in depth. Maybe a book is in here. And so I would sit down and write out these lessons. And a lot of times I didn't really know what I was writing. it was kind of a word dump until I could kind of make sense of it. And that line just kind of came out of nowhere. Love doesn't care if you forget, because so much of the worries, and I talk about this in the book, like my first real worry before I knew all the things there were to worry about. Thank goodness you don't really know ahead of time what's coming, because then if you had to think about all that stuff. But my worry was what happens when she forgets my name, or she forgets who I am? Like, what's going to happen if she forgets? And because that's what our relationship seems to be built on, is like us knowing each other, or us having a history, or us having a specific kind of relationship. And I began to realize, like, the love that is present underneath of all of our journeys, really, that doesn't care. It's like a memory is not required to have access to that. So it doesn't matter. And that really, I kind of wrote that line out, and I went, yeah, that's just true. Like, it doesn't care what's happening on the quote unquote surface. Now, the surface can be real ugly and brutal and difficult. I always want to make sure I tell people I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything. Like, it's a tough journey. It challenges you in ways that you don't really want to be challenged. Nobody would ask for this. But it's kind of almost as a metaphor, kind of like the ocean. The surface can have this really huge storm with these massive crushing waves, and emotionally can absolutely feel like that. But the access to the depths, that water is stiller. There's less movement. There's just quiet and depth. And that's kind of like that deeper love. That's that unconditional love that Mom started to show me. And there are so many things, like, as you start to access that you worried about, that became irrelevant.
Yeah.
So my mom kind of really, like, I guess if I were to say it today, I say different every day, I talk about it, but today I would say the biggest lesson she showed me is, like, when you access that deeper love, you don't need much else. You don't have to worry about much else. There's a safety in it that gets built in. Yeah.
Yeah, that's real. I think very, very true. And people, we've been sold for so long that, the fear and the doom and the gloom is wrapped in this disease. And we're hearing more and more people now talk about the hope and dignity and love and joy, which is wonderful. I know when I first stepped into this space in 2009, there really wasn't anybody talking about that stuff at all. And I was encouraged to start the blog. And I was shocked how many people around the world resonated with that and said, we need to hear this side of it, because it's the other side's exhausting. And if you don't feel like you can ever crawl out of the hole and get a glimpse of light or learn lessons, from this journey, it really makes it much, much more difficult for everybody involved in the situation. And I know on your website you say that the book is about deep love and internal hope through the whole struggle of Alzheimer's. Where did you find the deep love and the internal hope, and why do you think it's so difficult for people to believe that can even be there? Was it Was it was it a method you used, or was it just changing your mindset, or can you put your finger on it? I know sometimes it's hard to pin down.
Yeah, like the only I would love to take credit for my own insights of the only it was just grace, moments of grace, and I think an openness to that grace. That I don't know if there is a method or a technique that one can get to. But I think hearing that it's possible, that's kind of why I wrote the book, and why I'm so glad, things like your show exist and people are sharing this perspective. Like knowing it exists, knowing that genuinely somebody else has seen this, has seen the deeper parts, have seen the peaceful parts, at least gives you something to keep an eye out for. And I think that's why so many people, they struggle even harder than they have to, is because there is so much junk that comes along with this. There's so much crap. There is watching their health decline. There is having to learn how to be with somebody who, maybe doesn't know who you are. And there's a lot of rearranging and adjusting and, the medical stuff and the emotional stuff and the physical stuff. There's a lot there. And what we tend to do is we that's the only thing we have eyes for, though, is we get really lost in the journey at that level. And of course, who could blame us? Like, that's a lot, and, there could be isolation and, as people a lot of people don't know how to deal with this. And so, we tend to lose people in our lives that we thought, no fault to them. It's tough, but it's like, oh, I don't know how to be with your mom anymore. So I'm just kind of fading to the background. So that's a lot. So it's in some ways, like, I don't know how to make anybody see beyond that. I can only say there is a beyond that, or an underneath that it gives you space. And if you can find your own way through whatever it is, if you're religious and it's prayer, or if you're, you have some sort of mindfulness techniques or whatever, meditation, your particular thing. For me, it was literally observation. It was noticing. It was, having an incredibly hard time with my mom, but still noticing, like, as life was taking her away from me, I was still getting more of her in some strange way. And it's like, it was curiosity for me. Like, what is that about? How is that possible? And so for me, like, when you introduced me, you said, my thing is I love to explore the truths of life. That's just my particular flavor of getting through things. I'm curious about things. But I would say for anybody else, it's grace for letting you see something beyond what the difficulties are, if that makes sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense. You were talking about, looking maybe underneath, or above them, whatever. And in some ways I found with my mom, it was looking through her. It was looking past the physical being and just connecting. I learned to connect more. And for some people, this is going to sound like really woo, but with her energy, with her soul.
Oh, yeah.
And, it really made me give great appreciation for just silence and getting comfortable with silence, that you don't always have to be talking. There doesn't always have to be chatter. And, coming to the resolution really that, for me, there's, a lot of times there's no safer, more comfortable place to be, but then sitting alongside somebody that you love. No words are needed. You don't even have to touch, just to be in their presence. And I think we overlook that a lot in our everyday lives because everything's so busy and so fast. And for me, it forced me to look at that, feel that, kind of live and breathe with that, not be anxious about it, that it was okay to not just have to fill air, fill space, do something, that I could just sit and breathe with her, and that was enough.
Yeah. And we forget that so long as you're breathing in air, there's nothing that isn't full of life.
Mm-hmm.
Like grief is full of life. Like there's an aliveness in it. Like, and we can. It's not so much about like being happy that grief is there. Like, hey, here's grief, and I'm okay with it. But it's like you're alive. Like to feel that deeply, and to just be with it, to be with that depth of pain, which I'm so like some people I feel like try to push the pain aside or try to not acknowledge it or numb themselves to it, or we have a lot of defense mechanisms against it. In my mind, it's like, oh, acknowledge that it's there because there's still life in it. You can absolutely connect through grief, or whatever is still in front of you, like your loved one is still there.
Well,
my mom's gone, and I still consider she's still here.
Yeah, but the other thing I think that anyways I learned through this journey was that you can't have great grief without first having great love. And so when I would feel that, then it brought me back to a place of gratitude.
Mm.
How lucky am I to feel this so deeply?
Yeah. I remember having a conversation with somebody, and I was just so sad. And I said, I don't know how else to say this other than I feel really lucky to feel this sad.
Yeah, that's very, very true. I think we've got Kate Lau on the line, so let me just see if I can pull her in. Kate, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, how
Hi,
are you
Kate.
doing?
Hey, I'm things are a bit hectic here. I'm moving, I'm packing, moving, and I can't put two and two together. I'm staring at my things a lot. However, what an interesting conversation, and I'm just sitting here listening and about grace, about love, about hope, and about daughters like both of you who love your mother so much. And it is just good to know that, there are daughters like both of you and many more, I'm sure. But for me, it's different. I raised my kids with so much love and care. And now they're not interested in what I'm going through. And I do not know, how to react, what to do. So I'm moving closer to them into an apartment. They don't even know yet that I'm moving. I think I'll just, settle down for a bit, keep quiet, and see what happens. I'm hoping for some, whatever little care and love that I can get from them, and there's nothing I can do. It's how do you call it? It's how they feel.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to wait. They pray and they know all of that, but they're avoiding. I feel that they're avoiding me. When you have this disease, you lose a lot of things. You lose not only your independence and skills, and you lose your family. Losing your friends different. Losing the people at church is different, but losing your own offsprings, losing time with your grandchildren. You never go shopping ever with any of these kids while they're growing up. From the time they're born, you never go anywhere, and I'm totally still able to do many things. But I wonder what their feelings are. You cannot be in denial for 7 years.
Well,
and
some people are. I mean, my brothers were in denial pretty much all 30 years with my mom, and they came around a little bit, but they just truly didn't get it. It really scared them, and I honestly think that they didn't want to deal with their feelings. They didn't want, we were talking about kind of going into the depths of the grief and stuff just before I called you in. And I think some people just they're scared to death to feel that deeply. And
I was.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I
Brianne.
was going to say the same. I was going to say the same thing. I don't know. I think everything we do is ultimately rooted in love. Ultimately, and particularly if you did raise your kids, and I of course I can't speak for them, but particularly if you had so much love in there, it's terrifying to have to admit and acknowledge and accept that somebody you love has something you can't do anything about. The amount of powerlessness that I had to accept, it requires, I don't know, a lot. I watched a lot of people in my family and a lot of my mom's friends and things. It's too hard, and it's actually because they love them so much. They don't know what to do. We're not used to, especially in our modern society, dealing with things out of our control. We really want to be able to control things, and when we can't control them, we tend to avoid them entirely and then pretend like we're controlling them.
But it is their loss also, because when the time comes and your loved one cannot talk, cannot communicate, and then you come visit, what is that? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to see, because I saw this when I was working in a dementia unit, but now I'm on the other side of the table or whatever, and I'm watching my kids, and the only one that said anything was my oldest son. He says, I want you to go to, I don't care, Mayo Clinic, whatever, I want you to go get more tests. You know, there can be mistakes and all that. And that, I believe, when he says that, he's concerned, he loves me, he cares. He lives far away, but then he cares. And the ones that I hear, they don't even want to include me in anything. I think I lost a daughter because she never talks to me about, she works for the federal government, but she also has her own business, and I don't know a thing about the business. Apparently, it is a very lucrative business, and I'm not involved in this, but I am a bit jealous about the people that are involved in it, her friends, her maybe her mother-in-law. I'm not sure. So I feel like I want to be accepted and involved in her life and the children's life. I want the children to learn from their mom in how she feels for me, cares for me, love me. And then they will do the same when the time comes. I do not want anyone to have dementia, but whatever it is, when there's some kind of sickness or any time they're with their mother, they would imitate or learn something from how she is with me. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Another one of the hard things is we can't control anybody else's learning. We can't control anybody else's seeing, and that's what's so hard. It's like I saw so much beauty in this, and I wish I had the power to give this to every single person who was going through this journey, like to give them my sets of eyes. And that's just like it's another layer of accepting and finding grace. It's like, I don't know. I'm so sorry for everybody who has to walk this journey, because it has all kinds of different layers of individual complication depending on family dynamics and history. And but one thing I do know for sure, Kate, is that grace it's possible, all of it, even if it's grace for yourself as you go through this journey and are currently not getting what you want from your children, and which is always unfortunate. It always just stinks when we don't get what we want from the people we love. It always hurts.
Right.
And
I just speaking from speaking from a mother's viewpoint. From a mother's viewpoint, and both of you are daughters. Is there anybody else here in our conversation? I don't know. I just know that Lori and you're here.
Yep.
From your from daughter's viewpoint, it's very, very interesting because I'm the mother here, and I, you know, my goodness, I would love to be your mother. Your mothers were very blessed, very, very blessed. And
well, thank you. You know, one of the things, Kate, on that, I've had a couple of people say that to me over the years, but I think, you know, you talking about this, you know, live on the air, I think is really, really helpful, because there's a lot of people like you where family has not been as supportive as the person with dementia would like. And there's, so your story is going to help others. It's also going to maybe have some people who are listening go, gosh, I never thought of how they viewed all this. Maybe I should have a conversation with them. You know, maybe we need to talk about, because a lot of times this stuff isn't talked about. You know, it's just done. Well, people just do. But there really is
in
a
the beginning
discussion about it.
In the beginning, after diagnosis, you know, I didn't know where to turn to. I didn't know how they would react to it. But knowing my children, and their mother knows, I thought that, well, you know, they're going to think that, well, it's wrong. It's not, you know. I can understand the denial, but as this progression, I don't understand, and I know many friends who goes through this. It's like, hey, when you need a babysitter, suddenly you trust me, but then when I want to see the kids, you can't leave them with me for an hour or so. But I do. I'm grateful that my son does leave his son here, and so that's almost like the only grandchild I see the most. And it is a pity, because we're missing out moments that we cannot take back, that this other little grandchildren will never know me, and I won't know them while I'm still lucid, while I'm still able. What a waste of precious time that you cannot get back.
Yeah, that's
very. I want the daughters to know this.
Yeah. Well, I do want to echo what Lori said. Like, it's unfair, and it's unfortunate that the people you most want to hear this might not. But I'm personally so incredibly grateful that you are reaching out and having these conversations and talking to us and letting other people listen. And I think you will affect people that you, of course, aren't in your immediate family or your immediate sphere, which, again, unfortunate and unfair. But I think it's gorgeous that you call in and that you share your story and your perspective. It will reach somebody else's heart and somebody else's ears and shift something for them. I just know it will.
Yeah,
I think it's beautiful
believe
that you called in.
Yeah, I really believe that too, and that's why I encourage people to call in and share their stories, or, you know, speak up. There's a lot more people here that are connected with you and can help bring about change, you know, as we talk. One thing I want to get to with you, Brianne, is, you know, your mom just recently passed away, so this journey is really fresh with you, and yet it's over. For others who, you know, may be in the beginning or even in the middle of their journey or near the end, what do you want them to know? What have you learned that might assist them in the different stages?
I want people to know that I honestly believe, like, built into the human condition is a capacity to figure things out, to be with things as they are and adjust as necessary. I think the biggest problems I always had every step of the way until somewhere near the end was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to do this or that, or what if this happens or what if that happens, and every step of the way, like, I mean, I say I moved through the whole experience awkwardly with grace because
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't. I don't even know what perfection, like moving through this experience perfectly, would look like. But, you know, you're going to have challenges, and they will hurt, and it will be tough, and you will move through it. That's just how we operate. We're really good at meeting the moment. We're not so good at being in our heads.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I found, like, when my mom became incontinent and I had to be the one that bathed her and changed her, that was very awkward. And then I figured it out. And then she forgot how to eat, and I had to feed her, and that was weird and awkward, and I figured it out. And, you know, my father had a whole lot of pain around this, and I didn't know how to be with him, and I figured it out. And her death came, and I didn't know how I was going to move on, and I figured it. Well, I'm figuring that one out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that. It's if I could give anybody anything, it was hopefully to put a trust in yourself and in the journey. No matter what stage, no matter how weird or wonky or hard it's feeling, you will get through. You will. Awkwardly with grace.
Yeah. When you mentioned that term, I love that, awkward with grace, and you had mentioned the word perfection. I don't know what that would look like, and for me, I have kicked perfection kind of out of my vocabulary. I don't strive for it. I don't want it, because I really think it's about making progress, not about being perfect, because perfect is subject to everybody. You know, everybody has an angle of what's perfect, and so you're never going to meet that standard of perfection anyway. You know, when you're worried about what everyone else is thinking. So it was just really about progress, and I think the other thing I would add in there is forgiveness, not just for others, but for yourself. Because I don't know about, you know, the rest of the world, but I know I have a really big inner critic that loves to scream at me and tell me what a creep I am, and that I can do better, and what was I thinking. And I sit down, and then I'll just cry and think, oh my gosh, I'm a rotten person. Why did I do that? Instead of going, I will always have another moment to do better. I will always have another moment to do better, and taking it in and really appreciating that I learned something along the way, how to do something better, and try to twist it to a positive, and not to be Pollyanna, because you know, you're going to slip up, you're going to be exhausted, you're not going to have enough time, you're going to snap, you're going to do all the things that you don't want to do. It's part of life. But I found the sooner I could release myself out of the cage and time out for being a bad person, it gave me more time to do better, you know, more time to practice at being better. And, you know, with everything, I think in life, practice helps, you know, and to always look at how to improve, even when you think you got it down pat, you know, the recipe can always be improved. And we might see it. It might be someone else that picks up on it, and know that we are connected. I think at a deeper level than we could ever imagine. And as the disease progresses, that's when I found that out. I didn't know that. You know, you don't know what you don't know. But I was shocked at the fewer skills my mom had, the deeper our connections became, and that I didn't really lose anything. I lost the normality of what we perceived to be normal, but her and I came to a whole new normal for us. And
that new normal can be gorgeous. And, you know, I was just thinking that the forgiveness thing and the inner critic, and I do remember having this moment when I kind of realized that the cards we were dealt were crap cards. Like if you're given this in your life, you got dealt a shitty hand, like you just did, and that is not on you. It's not on me. It wasn't on us. It wasn't. So when I kind of really realized, like, oh, we were kind of given an impossible situation. Like, we were given an incredibly difficult situation, and it's nobody's fault except for life itself. When once I really saw that of like, oh, I've been handed something that's really kind of impossible to deal with, and so I can't actually get it wrong. Like not in the ultimate sense, you know. That relieved a whole lot for me. It's like, oh, I'm going to do the best I can moment by moment, but nobody on the face of the planet, including myself, can to be able to do better than I'm doing, because this is just, it's too much all at one take, you know. So you do find, if you can find your own way to keep your heart at least a little bit open, and, you know, with yourself just as much as your loved one and your other family members and all the stuff that gets pulled into this, you do see things. You do learn. Like learning how to change my mom after she had messed herself, you know, it was so, like, it would take forever and it would be so weird and messy and gross. And then, you know, I was doing it quote unquote wrong. But every time I'm like, oh, I noticed, okay, if I say these things, that tends to calm her down. Or if we go into this room, it's easier. Or like, but I had to learn. You have to learn that. You can't know that ahead of time. That comes with the process. And when you kind of see that, you just are able to kind of lean into the experience a little bit more and go, okay, well, this is weird, or this is hard, or this is difficult. Maybe I'm going to learn something here. So maybe the next time won't be.
Yeah, I think that's really true, and I think it goes for like Kate's side too. You know, it's not just for the care partner, but for the person with dementia. In terms of those cards that are dealt, how are you going to play the game? You know, are you going to play the game the way it's always been played, or are you going to find new ways to win? And so, like with Kate, she has surrounded herself with incredible people who have been diagnosed, who are advocates. She's an advocate herself for the disease, and I think, Kate, you know, you and correct me if I'm wrong, but I know for me, you know, I became this advocate. I met people I never would have met. I made connections that are so deep and so powerful and so uplifting to my soul that I never would have, I never, ever would have made them without my mom being sick. And, you know, Kate is an administrator of some groups, and, you know, she's part of our dementia chats, and her voice has helped so many people. But I think sometimes we don't sit back and go, gosh, what's filling me? What makes me feel good? Sometimes we focus on, you know, what's not working and what needs to be fixed. And sometimes I think the fixing comes in realizing that you can't control other people, and the only thing that you can control is yourself. And so by expanding your soul and your energy and your thoughts and your connections is really a way to heal not just us as individuals of what we've lost and filling that void, but it also helps heal and energize others. And I think, Kate, you've done a beautiful job at doing that.
Thank you. Thank you. Lori, you're one of those people that has helped me so much and has become a friend. And I do not focus on like my progression or my illness or, you know, how long I'm going to live, but I do think more of when my children will turn around and accept me for who I am. I do think of that, and sometimes I feel like that is more of what is causing a lot of pain more than the disease itself. And when I hear about being gracious, that is so beautiful, so unconditional. And one of my children studying a book on grace, and I asked her what she was reading. She said about grace, and then I said, "Oh, okay." I didn't think about it, and then when Brianne, is that your name? Brought up this topic, I just suddenly thought, well, grace is unconditional, and I would do anything for any of them unconditionally, but I can't find one of them who wants to be my medical power of attorney, and that's pretty tough.
Mm-hmm.
But the grace and the unconditional love, you both were the. Well, I'm Chinese. I've not only am I forgetting words, I can't remember the word, but we talk about perfection. You're the closest to perfection I know of daughters who take care of their mother of their parents.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm learning here.
Thank you,
so
Kate,
going to
so
stay
much.
in my mind all day long, thinking about unconditional love.
Mm-hmm. And unconditional love goes both ways too. And sometimes it's really hard to kind of forgive and accept people who are making choices that don't align with what you want. I mean, I know for me, it was my brothers, didn't step up to the plate the way I thought they should. And I was angry. I mean, I was pissed a lot of times. I was down, I was mad, and it was like, and I'm going to fix them, damn it, no matter what happens, I'm going to get them on the same page. They're missing out. How can they not see and feel what they're missing out? And they really just never did. And I finally came to the place where I had to let that go because it was distracting me, living my life fully and spending more time with Mom. And, for you with the kids, it might be distracting for you living your life fully and filling it up. And, we all, I think, sign up to learn lessons. And some of us learn them and some of us don't, when we come here. And really accepting that, this is their choice. It doesn't mean that I have to love them less. I might love them differently in some ways than if they were around and if they did get it. But I still love them, and I have to honor their choices. But they're going to have to honor mine too. And sometimes for some of those people in our lives, I mean, I've had to cut people loose where it's like I can't have contact anymore because it's too painful, and we're not getting anywhere.
It's cruel.
And,
it can be cruel in the sense like, okay, I'm going to invite you to my party, Mom, but if you talk about your illness, then I'm not, and that really hurts the core. It hurts to the core. But I have. It's painful to see kids playing where I'm moving to. There are kids. I moved there for that reason too. Like in case the kids would come visit me, and there's nothing, then they can play with the other children, and they're looking forward to come and see me because I'm a fun grandma. But then you can just do so much, don't you know? You can just do so much to entertain, and I do not want them to watch Netflix at my place. I want to just love them and, enjoy them. And so now my focus isn't so much on my children and what they do, and it's bittersweet to see other people's children playing, thinking of I wish my grandkids are here, but there is there's hope. There is hope, but I don't know when and in what stage they would come around. But there's hope. We must have hope.
Yeah. Well, I would say it's obvious to me that you have so much love within you, and so long as you're not too focused on where that love gets focused, that's the thing that's going to carry you through. Like, you have so much love inside of you, and it's like, just, if I could, I try not to offer advice, but, like, get in touch with that love, and if it's sparked by somebody else's children, you're still feeling love. If it's sparked by our story, you're still feeling love. Like, that love if it's truly unconditional, it doesn't matter who's telling the story or where it's getting directed. And that's the saving grace.
And And I just
Yes.
need to wrap up the show here quick. Thank you both for being with us. You can contact
thank you.
Brianne
Thank
at
you.
her website. Everything is located on the radio page. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
It's time to rethink, renew, and reimagine retirement. Hey everybody, Jared Sebesta here, host of Retire Repurposed. Now this podcast is about the non-financial parts of retirement, which many times can be even more challenging than the financial. We believe retirement is not the end, rather the beginning of what could be the most impactful, purposeful, and fulfilling season of a person's life. So don't retire, become repurposed. To listen now, search Retire Repurposed on your favorite podcast platform, Senior Resource, or Life Audio.